This conference will now be recorded.
Sandy, are you still bedridden? How are you?
I am good, but I'm bedridden, yes.
Oh man, I've been meaning to reach out to you. I saw the pictures and how you feeling?
Hey, every day's getting a little better.
Yeah, it looked like it was pretty bad, huh?
2 weeks down, four to go.
Wow, wow. Well, if you're gonna do it right.
It wasn't an exciting fall. My heel hit the last step as I was coming down from the cabin and it just twisted my ankle.
Oh man, sorry to hear that.
First
If
time I've ever broken a bone, so I guess I'm pretty good, to be as old as I am and never break a bone.
knock on wood. Yeah,
Hmm.
Frank and I were joking about this the other day at the office that you wish it were a cool fall. You got to say it was skiing or downhill mountain biking or something,
Hmm. Right.
So I wasn't aware that you broke something. So yeah,
Yeah,
fracture or yeah.
3 places.
Wow, wow,
There's 9 pins and one plate in my one little baby ankle.
really? Oh man, are you going stir crazy?
Well, I've been reading, watching Netflix series. I've got a beautiful view of Pikes Peak. Right here.
Yeah,
So,
you could be in worse spots, right?
yeah, it could be worse.
Well, it's good to see you. That's one
Our
way to get you into these calls is make sure, an injury will get you here, right?
our deck is in the process of getting the structure finished. So that we'll finally see that. Apparently, the Todd. Todd Smith. Say hi, Bob.
Hi, Todd.
Hey, Bob, how are
Um, Taking care of the cripple.
you? That's good. Keep you out of trouble.
Yeah, keep her out of trouble.
She has no
Anyway,
choice. Yeah.
the deck boards got held up by Hurricane Ida in Alabama. So
Oh,
they're in transit now.
yeah.
They come from Chile to America, and then now they're coming to Colorado.
Really? What kind? Why chili? Is it the type of material?
It's called Tigerwood.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. You mentioned
So
that to me.
I'm
Yeah.
excited about that. The structure's all just about done though.
So I've been on your porch. I know it wraps around, and then with your where you are now is the newer addition. It goes all the way there, right?
No, it didn't ever connect. So we tore
Oh,
off the redwood, left the structure, and they're connecting the new structure to match the one off the bedroom. Because remember how narrow it was? So
mm-hmm.
they expanded it all the way out to the new. Um, it's going to be another 10 foot wider.
Oh, cool, cool. So it's almost done. Then it sounds like.
No, it's probably
No?
a third done.
Oh, okay. Well, you get to supervise right from the
Yeah, I
beginning.
get to watch.
Good morning,
So,
Penny. I
Good
can
morning.
see you.
Yeah, somehow you can see me, I can't see, well, I can see you, but my camera's off, but I don't know why.
Yeah, I just see a P, so we'll call you P.
Okay.
We'll
Okay.
see if you can get it. It'd be nice to see your face. So
I
welcome.
tried, and it said it wouldn't do it. I don't know why.
where's the donuts?
The donuts.
Where's the donuts?
Good idea. I don't know. Do we deliver them to everyone? Penny's in Arizona. You're across town. Frank's on the other side of town. I guess we could, right? Well,
Uh,
Penny, we'll talk later. I really was going to call you last night, but Jessica and I were both working till 9, and then we kind of passed out. So we'll catch up soon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I only got to stay a while because I got to go to the airport and get my cousin.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know that. We need to catch up. It's been too long.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
So Penny used to live in Colorado. She's now in Arizona. She was up here, and I thought we were going to get to visit. Didn't happen, so we're overdue when she was up here. So just a little FYI there. Okay, we had a couple other registrations, but I'm going to get started since it's 6 after. Just drop off whenever, Penny, and then we'll catch up.
Okay.
Sandy, I think this is your first session dialing in, so welcome. So let me just give you kind of preface this and what this is all about. So we started this format earlier this year as just another channel where people could connect with me and my team to really just have an open forum, just to chat, catch up. If there's any questions at all, you bring them here and we're happy to discuss it. We typically try to have a few remarks at the beginning, a particular theme, or I'm answering questions that maybe people have sent me that couldn't make it. But really, this is not a webinar. It's really just designed to be informal, kind of drop it. And it's what you guys make it. So any of your family members, anybody you know, you're happy to invite them. For the most part, we can answer any question you have. If we can't, we promise to find out and get it to you. My brain trust tends to be here with me. So you know Frank. I don't know, Sandy, have you met Frank? Penny, I don't think you have.
I think
No.
one time I did.
Yeah.
When you were at the other building, I had brought the dog in and he was at
Oh,
the
yeah.
desk when we met.
Okay. So Frank is another certified financial planner as part of the team. And so he's frequently here when he can. He's back from his sabbatical. He goes to Wisconsin every summer to his cabin. So he's back in town now. So I got him more full time than I normally do. So that's good. Michael, who's a new team member, he's sometimes here. And then Tracy, I see, just logged in. So that's kind of our core team that generally is here to answer any questions you may have, just have a conversation. I also want to bring that up is because most people don't know they're accustomed to kind of working with me. And I just want to make sure that you understand that there's a whole team behind me. So somebody from my team might email you or call you or help work on a project. I'm the owner and typically kind of the face of the business, but I have a whole team behind me that's working as well. So feel free to reach out to any one of us at any point. And you'll see more of that going forward, kind of this team-based ensemble approach that I'm really trying to push because I think it's a better service to clients in general. So speaking of themes, so what I said is sometimes we have 15, 20 minutes of open remarks that are theme-based. And if you've noticed over the last year or so, we try to have a quarterly theme of some financial planning topic. So the first of the year, the first quarter was all about beneficiaries and estate planning. Then we get into tax planning. That's why we want to collect people's tax returns, because that's one of the deliverables for you is really to analyze your tax return, see if there's something of value or some opportunities, planning opportunities. So we'll be looking at that again going into the fourth quarter to make sure there's not anything that needs to be done by the year end. There's Tracy. I teased her last night when I left the office. I said, do your hair because you need to get on camera for once because she's never on camera. So you can put a face to a name. This is Tracy, the glue that holds it all together. So, so anyway, we try these thematics, these thematical approaches in terms of our deliverables, kind of our call to action for the organization. We meet with people once or twice a year for kind of a periodic review, a formal review, but there's always some kind of something we're doing behind the scenes. Our most recent theme, and it ties in today, is behavioral finance. And behavioral finance I find quite intriguing, and Penny might have some insight into this because her career as a therapist for how many years, Penny?
About 30, 35, I don't know, somewhere in there.
Yeah. And so she started when she was 10, because you're only in your 40s, right, Penny?
Exactly.
So behavioral finance, I find it fascinating, and I think it's so. Not only is it interesting, but I think it's important. You know, there's two sides to kind of life and finances. It's really the behavior, but then it's the mechanics, the logistics, the technical side. So um, Frank, incidentally, he was writing a lot of our blogs recently using that theme. So every quarter when he writes blogs and go to our website and look at them, it's consistent with that theme. So it's interesting. I was thinking when I first got the certified financial planner designation, gosh, Frank, you and I did at the same time about 20 years ago. Behavioral finance, I don't think was even included. And it was really the mechanics. It covered retirement planning, estate planning, taxes, insurance, investments, so on and so forth. More recently, I took the Chartered Financial Counselor designation or classes, and one of the key components is actually behavioral finance. So I thought I would share that with you guys today, and we talk about it. So big picture, why is this important? So level 5, the name level 5 really started with Maslow's kind of hierarchy of needs, human needs. Are you familiar with that? Sandy, have you heard of that at all? So basically, Abraham Maslow came up with a pyramid, and he said that everybody's behavior and motivation as humans is based on where you are in the pyramid. And really, at the bottom of the pyramid is kind of security, um, you know, your basic needs, and then the top is really more about abundance, living your greatest life, um, and actualization. So we all operate sometimes at our highest level, more at the security level, somewhere in between, and we cycle all around. So his pyramid, some of it's 6 levels, some of it's 7, but level 5 was based on the concept that financial planning and coaching really help people move up the pyramid to live a better life through that process. Tony Robbins also came up with, or talks a lot about the 6 human needs and the motivations. And I'm going to have Frank talk a little bit more granular, but I just want to kind of give you the foundation. When he talks about the 6 human needs, we all have them subconsciously or subconsciously in terms of, you know, how we interact with each other, what we may do that's maybe effective or not so effective, so on and so forth. But it kind of ties into that. Tony Robbins and others have talked about those 6 needs being: 1, certainty, assurance you can avoid pain or gain pleasure. 2 is kind of uncertainty, the opposite, or variety. We need some unknown, change or new stimuli. 3 would be significance. 4 would be connection and love. 5 would be growth, and 6 would be contribution. I wish there was 5 to mirror the level 5, but I think if you consider those, that we all have a little bit of each of those in terms of how we are kind of wired. However, we probably have 1, 2, 3 on the high end that are more prevalent than others. So I just wanted to kind of introduce that, because how you interact with your spouse or your family members, the community, coworkers, kind of boils down to a lot of these things, but also your finances. So financial decision making also ties into what may be, you know, related to one of these human needs, right? So certainty, right? If certainty is one of your prevalent human needs, how is that going to impact your financial decision making? That could be investing, it could be in using debt, a whole host of things. So I wanted to kind of just open that up. That's kind of our theme this quarter. And I wanted to put Frank on the hot seat and maybe talk about a few of the granular behavioral finance concepts that he's been writing about that maybe we see in our practice and with working with clients over several decades. But before I do that, Penny, was that a good explanation? Or I know some of it, I know it's a much broader topic, but would you have any input from kind of your work on that?
No, that's pretty good. I'll take that. I might approach Maslow a little differently, but that's no, that really explains it.
Okay. I just want to make sure you're not sitting there thinking Todd's getting the psychology and he's not a psychologist, so he's totally off base. It's like, stop.
No.
Okay. So I call this the softer side of finance. You have the hard side and the soft side. The hard side is, the mechanics of investing, or what type of retirement account, or how do you create a sustainable distribution in retirement. The softer side is what goes on between our ears and how we're reacting. My experience is you could all have all the technical knowledge in the world, but if you haven't mastered or at least be aware of how you're thinking about things, the cognitive component, the behavioral component, it's hard to be successful. But that's where we come in as your planners and your advocate, is to make sure that the hard side and the soft side of finance are kind of consistent so that we can maximize and optimize, your overall finances in life. So with that, Frank, did you have any thoughts? Were there a couple examples that you had that you wanted to share today?
Sure. Thanks, Todd. Yeah, you mentioned the soft side versus the hard side, and doing a lot of research and trying to develop the inputs for the blog postings is for me is kind of enjoyable. I'm definitely lean toward the hard side of things, being an engineer by training and having a master's in business administration. Psychology isn't too prevalent in those disciplines. But as I learn more about this, it really helps you understand why people do what they do. And I think, as Todd said, it's the biases and behavioral aspects of it are they're not only financial, they're other things in life. And I just see numerous spillover effects in some of the particular biases. Like, for instance, I know you want to avoid discussions of politics, but confirmation bias.
Yes, please.
In the financial sense, confirmation bias is that, you make an investing decision and you only seek information that confirms what you already, thought. In other words, you only listen to who you want to listen to. And I think in these days with our polarized political situation, everybody's got their favorite media source. And, it's real easy to fall into a trap of only listening to people that say what you want to hear. And so the idea with being aware of these behavioral biases is, and that's where I think we add some value, is that, we know we can't, we're human. We have the biases. We just have to be aware of them. And we have to make a conscious effort not to let them overly influence thought processes. And Todd talks about this a lot with us, in the group, that we try to follow processes that basically, overcome the biases, because the processes are the processes. They have nothing to do with opinion, emotion, or what we're thinking. There's other examples. Loss aversion. People don't like to admit they were wrong, but sometimes you have to do that because there's better opportunities elsewhere. But loss aversion basically says the pain of the pain of a loss is disproportionate to the joy of a gain. And sometimes you just have to say, let's harvest the loss, for instance, save some taxes, and admit that maybe that was a mistake.
Stop you right there. I'll just say one thing. Sorry to interrupt you. Yeah, I was going to say, I can't tell you how many times people said, well, yeah, I want great returns, but I don't want to lose any money, right? There's no such thing. Nothing goes up and never comes down, right? So anytime we're looking for rates of return higher than the bank or something stable, there's that risk of things going down. So that just ties into what you're saying. It made me think of loss aversion. Nobody wants to lose money, but they want to make great money, and they don't go together typically. There's no such vehicle that you can do that. It could. So anyway, go ahead.
Right, yeah, and there's other examples. In our business, there's a term called herd bias, and especially when certain segments of the market are performing well, like growth and technology stocks have done real well the last year and a half or so. People will ask us, well, why aren't we loaded up on those things? It's like, well, we're trying not to follow the herd, because at some point, the herd's going to be wrong, and it can be very painful when the road turns, if you will. So we try to avoid herd bias and follow a discipline of diversification, rebalancing, which basically takes that herd tendency away from the management of your money. Mental accounting. I always have to laugh at that, because my wife likes to go to Cripple Creek, and I just love to watch the people who are winning and they get more aggressive, because they don't treat, mental accounting means that we have certain compartments in our brain for money, and a dollar should be a dollar regardless of where we get it from. But the marketers of the world have taken advantage of that for a long time. Like I say, in the casino, when a gambler wins some money, they now think they're playing with the house's money, and they're more aggressive. Likewise, I think as consumers, we tend to think of money we earn from work. As we have to protect that and be more precious with it, as opposed to a windfall, if you will. And I think that, like I say, the marketers of the world have taken advantage of that. People get their income tax refunds in the spring, and they think that's found money, and they tend to go out and buy things, when in actuality, all the government was doing was giving your money back to you when they over withheld. And yet, so that dollar, coming back in the form of a refund should be treated exactly the same as the dollar that came in your paycheck, but people don't think that way. And similarly, that mental accounting goes on in the decision-making on process if you don't follow a discipline. So there's hundreds of these biases. A lot of them to me seem somewhat similar, but they actually are maybe slightly different, or they have some overlap, where you've maybe got 2 or 3 biases at one time affecting your thinking, and so they kind of run together. But I think the most important point is to be aware of them, and to try to not let them overly influence your decision-making process. And that's again, as Todd's method of doing that is to try to follow a process regardless of what we think.
Yeah, I think that's well stated, Brian. Thank you. When we talk about protocols and systems as a team, we're talking about it all the time. A perfect example is when cash comes in, we invest it immediately. We're not timing the market. That's to protect investors, but also ourselves, where we may be second guessing ourselves. Is this the right time? Is it not the right time? So that's one protocol. I just want to also reiterate what Frank, when you mentioned rebalancing, that's a behavioral protocol as well. If you're not familiar with rebalancing your portfolio, we rebalance at least every quarter. And what that means is, in the simplest form, is if we have you allocated 50% to conservative fixed income and 50% to stocks more aggressive, in a good year, you're going to have drift, right? So in a good year, the stock market will outperform your fixed income. So now you could be 65% stocks or equities, with the rest is in fixed income. And on the surface, a lot of people, and the data supports it, would say, oh, well, stocks are doing great. Let's add to that. Let's keep putting money into that particular area. We instead say, no, we want to shave off what is doing well and move into something that's not necessarily performing as quickly. So it sounds counterintuitive, but it does 2 things. One, it's keeping your risk kind of profile in check, because we've determined you should be 50-50 for a reason, not too heavy in stocks. But 2, it's the behavior. We're forcing ourselves as advisors in a firm, as well as investors, to sell something when it's high, shave off profits, and buy into something that, like I said, is possibly underperforming. And people don't want to buy something that's underperforming necessarily. So that's I just want to reiterate what rebalancing is and why we do it. So that's one of the behind the scenes things that we do quite frequently. So any questions about any of this? No?
Not so far.
Is the soft side too soft for you? Is it not interesting, or what do you think, Sandy? You're like, I'm stuck in bed. I just want to see what you guys are talking about.
I'm just listening.
No, this is good stuff. So if you want to read some more of this, it's on our website. So our blog, we try to update at least a few times a month. So there's all sorts of topics there, everything from tax planning, retirement investing to behavioral finance. We try to keep that fresh. Any questions, Penny? I know you got to go pretty soon. Did you have any questions before you came on? So these are our remarks, but as I mentioned, this is also a Q&A. So
The only question I do have one question.
mhm.
I noticed you send out that little thing about measuring risk,
Mhm.
or, it's a little cartoon quiz or something that you send. But how much does that, as we're saying, as we're giving input, how much is that? What do you do with that when you're looking at a portfolio?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, Sandy, I think you have filled this out in the past, but it's the same thing. There's different risk profile questionnaires out there, and I've used different ones, just depending. They're all flawed in some capacity. None of them are perfect. So the one we're currently using is Riskalyze, and it assigns a number to you, and it assigns a number to the portfolio that you have. So it's 0 to 100, 100 being most aggressive, 0 being the most conservative. So when you take that diagnostic, I would say that's maybe a quarter or a third of part of our decision in terms of how we build the portfolio. So we're looking at things like age, where you are in your life, what your goals and objectives are, what your income needs may be, ultimately what is the money going to be used for, things like that. So I would say it's a part of that in terms of our decision of how to invest. So generally, the way I describe it, for those that we've done a financial plan for, retirement income plan, the plan is going to be really the larger dictator of the type of portfolio, right? So if we create a plan for somebody that goes out to age 90, 95, 100, and we're trying to solve for a high probability of success, whatever that is, depending on your objectives, the rate of return of the portfolio is going to be intricate, right? So if the plan dictates that, you're going to be 100% successful or close to 100% successful at an 8% rate of return, then we could shape the portfolio to match that, because that's the engine inside the plan. So it's really the planning that drives the portfolio in my mind. But your risk tolerance, Penny, is really important, because we could create the best plan and the best portfolio, but if it scares you out of the portfolio or out of the plan, it doesn't work, right? Does that make sense?
Yep.
It was kind of long-winded. So I always, I was talking to another therapist a couple weeks ago, and I was talking about the cat that jumps on the stove, right? And she termed it something. I can't remember what she calls it, but is Bob here, Sandy? Is he listening to this or not?
Oh, he's outside,
Okay.
outside.
Well, I don't think he'd mind me mentioning that he kind of fell into that a little bit. He's the cat on the hot stove. And what is the cat on the hot stove? Is if a cat jumps on a hot stove and burns itself, it'll never get on the stove again, even if it's off and cold. So it's similar to, designing a portfolio for somebody, even though I think that they're maybe young enough, their objectives would dictate that they could be more aggressive. The plan dictates that they need a higher rate of return, therefore a risk profile that's commensurate with that. If they are the cat in the hot stove, or there's something going on, it wouldn't make sense for me to put them in the portfolio, at least initially. And I would have to put them maybe in something more conservative than I would want and coach them along the way to maybe get something more in line that's going to increase the probability of them reaching their goals. You see what I mean? So
And if I could add something, that is an example. Your cat on the stove analogy is one of the biases, availability bias. What they found is that people who've had experiences, a negative experience with something, tend to overestimate the likelihood that it can happen. For instance, one of the examples in the readings I was doing talked about if you know somebody who has perished in a plane crash, you're far more likely to overestimate the probability that a plane will go down, because that availability bias in your brain, it's indelibly burned into your brain, and you just have a hard time overcoming it. And what Todd's example of being an investor that got burned because of a mistake or just bad luck is kind of cautious, and that even they may overestimate the likelihood of a market crash. So those are kind of the things you try to be aware of, and not let them overly influence your thinking.
No, that's a great point. And yeah, even if it's not you personally, I hear it frequently, like, oh, I know so-and-so that lost a lot in 07, 08, or before that it was the .com. Oh, so-and-so lost 75%. So our job is to circumvent that perspective through education and coaching, and try to guide them to make the right decisions. So yeah, good question. I will say the other component of that, Penny, is compliance, right? If regulators show up and they say, why do you have Penny invested in a portfolio that is a 55, but she scored a 25, I need to explain that. So we're always looking at, will we designate your portfolio specific number, but then also what you scored. And if there's a deviation from that, we have to have a reasonable explanation. So we're always looking for consistency, but also, metrics and data to make a case in terms of why we giving the advice that we're giving. And so you'll see that questionnaire, I try to revisit every year, 18 months, because as your life changes, et cetera, your tolerance for risk is likely to change. But also what's going on in the world can change that too. So we try to revisit that, but then you get those kind of quarterly automated check-ins that say, hey, how you feeling about the markets? How you feeling about your financial future? It's kind of just us always checking in and reminding you of your portfolio risk so that you don't forget. So.
Okay. Thanks. I got to leave, but thanks. That was interesting.
Which cousin is coming into town real quick?
My cousin Bill.
Oh, okay.
From
You're supposed to go on a trip with last year. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that one. Yep. He's coming for the weekend. Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe I won't call you then if you're going to be busy, but I'll call you next week or something.
Yeah, because I would like to talk to you. So. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Take care.
Bye. Bye. I think I can leave session.
Anybody have, Sandy, any questions that you had when you jumped in, or were you just jumping in to check this out? Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's fine. So I attend the mastermind group, a couple of them, and one of them, the guy that facilitates is like, hey, if you have any questions, jump on in. If not, you can be a fly in the wall. And I sometimes become a fly in the wall because I hear it triggered. I may not have a question, but then somebody else has a question or something comes up. I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. So I welcome you to come back to these. Don't feel like you have to have a question by any means. Maybe we'll get Dara and some of the others on here sometime. So, yeah.
Christian.
Frank, did you have any other thoughts, or Tracy, any input? No? Okay.
I did not.
Okay. Well, let's close this then. I'm not going to make this force this to be an hour. I'm actually heading up to Woodland Park here soon. Do you need anything, Sandy? I'll probably go by your house, but you got Bob. Donuts? I could get you some donuts if you want.
No, I'm good.
Let me just enclose, talk about a few housekeeping items. We are getting to one of our periodic meeting windows coming in about October. So look for an invite coming out to sign up for that. If you want an in-person meeting or virtual, we can do that. You can click on the link in the email to schedule something directly. So look out for that. We're going to probably try, can you believe it's already mid-September? We're going to try to at least have 1 or 2 more webinars. Those are more the educational components before year end. One will be on taxes and kind of tax planning, which I think is relevant before, fourth quarter here. And then the other is possibly something on crypto. So cryptocurrencies has been top of mind for a lot of people. Again, following the herd, everybody wants to invest in crypto because of all the money that's being made. We've put the brakes on, like a lot of financial institutions, just because we want to make sure the risk profile is appropriate for our clients. However, I'm taking a 15-hour certification through the New York Institute of Finance. Once I complete that, I am going to then be sharing my findings on that, probably via webinar, just to better educate people on what are the opportunities, what are the pitfalls, is it something that we should really be looking at seriously in any of our portfolios, et cetera. So look out for that. And I think that's it. I'll probably send you out a checklist. I'm always trying to react to things that are top of mind for people. So crypto is one, taxes is another. So in light of taxes, I am frequently hearing, well, what is Biden going to do? Not to get into politics, or what's his new ideas? How is it going to affect me? So look for an email from me that's going to have a checklist of questions that you can answer that really hone in whether it will affect you or not. We'll get the results back, and then we'll address that with you. Okay.
I'd like to hear that.
Yeah. So that is all I had. Thank you, everybody. This is recorded. It goes online as well as our other ones. So Sandy, if you ever missed these and you wanted to, if it was a topic, or you're really bored sitting, you can pull up some of the old ones and watch them. Other than that, guys, thanks again for your time. I'll sign out for now, and we'll see you. We'll be doing this every month, Sandy and others. It's now going to be the first or second Thursday. We were doing a happy hour and a coffee. I think we're just going to stick with coffee for now, unless we get pushback that we need different times so people can attend. So happy healing to you, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
day. Yep. Bye-bye.